Hi, my name is Miss Donna. Does anybody recognize that tune? You're right, it's Yankee Doodle. Do you know the words? Let's try. Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony. He stuck a feather in his hat and he called it macaroni. Is that not one of the silliest songs you've ever heard? But before we judge too quickly, let's think and let's learn why this little song captures the essence of the American Revolutionary War and our freedom today. Before we go too far, let's examine this. Does anyone know what this is? Looks like a flute, doesn't it? Is it a flute? This is a flute. If we compare and contrast, well, you play them out to the side, that's to compare. To contrast, the flute is made out of silver and gold. And it sounds lower. So this isn't a flute. Is it a recorder? Well, this is a recorder. To compare and contrast, they're both made out of wood. That's compare. Contrast. A little bit squeaky, and you play it up and down like this. So it's not a recorder. This is called a fife, and it is the original instrument that played Yankee Doodle in the American Revolutionary War. Let's review quickly. Who is in the American Revolutionary War? Who is fighting? On one hand, you had the biggest, the most powerful country in the world, Great Britain. They used to say, the sun never sets on the British Empire. They had colonies all around the world, the biggest army, the biggest navy. And they were fighting against 13 colonies, is that right? 13. If you ever can't remember, count the stripes, not the stars, the stripes on the flag. They represent those 13 colonies. What's a colony? It works like this. The biggest, most powerful countries in the world would sail around and they would see land. They would stick a flag in the land, regardless if there were already people living there, and say, this is ours, we're more powerful. And they had colonies all around the world. Well, these 13 colonies were part of them. Well, for a long time, Great Britain, the English, were very busy with all their countries in the world and didn't bother much with the 13 colonies until another one of the big countries, France, started claiming land in North America as well. Well, the colonies and the British did not want the French close by, so they got together and they fought in a war called the French and Indian War. Well, the British and the colonies won that war. Yippee, yippee! And all is very happy until the colonies found out that in the treaty in Paris, the British had decided the colonists were not allowed to move west, and they thought they could. They were a little bit upset about that. Then British said to the colonies, we need money. We're going to tax you, pay us money. Well, taxes are okay, they have good purpose, but the colonists didn't like it because they were paying for the British Army to stay in the colonies, and they did not think that was needed. And they also felt they should have a voice. We'll pay your taxes if we can have a voice. But the monarch, the king, and the parliament said, no, you have no voice. And the colonists got more and more upset. Cause and effect. The year is 1775. Trouble is brewing. And this is where Yankee Doodle comes in. You see, during the French and Indian War, when they were fighting together, the colonists began to realize that no matter what they did, the British would never see them as equals. Yankee, at this time, meant all the people in the colonies, and it meant coward. Doodle means stupid. So the British are saying, we can tell by where you live, how you dress, that you live in the 13 colonies. You're stupid cowards. No matter what you do, you will never be equal to us. And what is the macaroni? Stick a feather in your head and call it macaroni? Macaroni was the decoration that British officers wore on their uniforms. Was it called macaroni because it was shaped like this in yellow? No, far greater meaning. Macaroni is another name for the wealthy, the rich boys in England who were allowed to live their dreams, who were allowed to be officers. You see, in order to live your dreams, to be an officer, you had to have a certain color of skin. And you had to be born to certain parents, parents who were rich in money. Those boys were called macaronis. But George Washington and the other leaders dreamed of a land where you would not be judged by the color of your skin, nor of how much money you had, that you would be able to rise up into your dreams. They dreamed of a country where no one would be better and no one would be less. George Washington adopted Yankee Doodle as his theme song to remind his men and to remind all of us of what American freedom means. It means you do not have to be born to certain parents to live your dreams. It means you, based on your character, based on your work, you can fulfill your dreams. If ever you doubt that you can do it, if anyone tells you that you cannot, I know 13 reasons for you to believe that you can. These 13 colonies were told, you can never win. You cannot do this. Here are 13 reasons to believe that you can. Every time you see this flag, it is a reminder of American freedom and that every person is born able to fulfill their dreams and their potential. What genius of George Washington and the leaders. In terms of music, George Washington was also a genius. I am going to put on a red coat. Oh, I see some of you look like, why is she putting on a red coat? It was the British who wore red. And you would be correct, except George Washington was so smart. He knew that music was powerful to remind people why they were fighting, but also the musicians gave all the signals to the army. Turn left, turn right, march this way, march that way. He put his musicians in the opposite colors of the rest of the army. You see, the regular army, when they had uniforms, wore blue coats with red trim, unless you were an officer and you wore a blue coat with gold trim. This way, in the heat of battle, the officers could always find their musicians because they would be the ones in the red coats. Another smart thing, imagine you're on the battlefield and you are British and you have on a red coat and you have your musket ready and you see someone else in a red coat. Are you going to shoot right away or will you pause? Washington knew this was another way to keep his troops alive. What genius of Washington and the other leaders. Let's name a few. Henry Knox, a Boston bookseller. He's a great character about whom to learn. John Adams, Sam Adams. You could even learn about Benedict Arnold and how brilliant he was. Raise your hand if you know Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson. All of these people gave birth to our country through their vision of American freedom. Between now and when I see you again, perhaps you can do some research on some of these characters. Find out who they were, what they believed, how they were able to live their dreams. And don't just look at the men. There were plenty of women too who were able to live their dreams and contribute to our American freedom. I look forward to seeing you in our next program. Have a great day. Goodbye.